Hey there, welcome to a brand new week as we keep reading through the Bible together, 5 days a week of reading. Again, today, January the 10th, you should be reading Genesis 16, 17, and 18, and Mark chapter 6. There's 4 chapters to read today, 3 in the Old Testament, 1 in the New Testament, and we're going to just be feeling and experiencing what God is saying through His Word today together. I wanted to highlight as we're just spending a few minutes here in the morning. If you've not read yet, go read this first and then come back to me. But as we're spending a few minutes together, I want to highlight what happens in Genesis chapter 17. In Genesis chapter 17, God gives Abram at the time still, his name hasn't changed yet. We're going to talk name changes in a second. He gives Abram the covenant of circumcision, where there's a physical mark on the body of all males that are followers of God, of Yahweh. That was his name, that the Jewish people knew him as. He gave a mark of circumcision. But beyond that, he also gave them a change in total identity. So Abram, who God had called to leave his people, to leave everything that he had known, everywhere that he'd been comfortable, everywhere that he had been living before, leave it all behind and go to the place I'm leading you. Where's that going to be? You'll see when we get there. That was God's direction. Well, now as they're going along here, they have this covenant moment where the greater offers a covenant to the lesser. And in covenant was a change in identity, not just a promise. And in this covenant, God changes Abram's name. He adds to his name. The name Abram means exalted father. Now, if you grew up in church like I did, maybe you grew up singing about Abraham. Abraham had many children. I blanked out for a second. Had many children. The whole little song. But at this point in his life, he had exactly 0 kids through the promise that God had given him. He's known as exalted father. He's getting nervous. He's getting very skeptical of the promise here. In fact, he's already tried once, the chapter we just read in chapter 16, to take matters into his own hands a little bit and to go around God's promise in his own way, and it didn't work out that well. In Genesis chapter 17, God reminds Abram of the covenant, and he changes his name. His name changes from exalted father to father of a multitude, father of a crowd, father of many nations. He changes his name from Abram to Abraham. Abraham. It's a small change that meant all the difference. Because when we enter covenant with God and He offers us a new name, He also offers us a new plan, a new purpose. A new identity equals a new purpose. And Abram's identity changed from being a guy with no kids to now being a father of a multitude of many nations. His purpose changed from just following God on his own and doing his own thing to now he is responsible for following God and leading his family to follow as well. Things are going to change drastically for Abraham and his legacy that he leaves in generations to come. And the same is true of us. When we surrender to the covenant that Jesus the Greater offers to us, and we enter that covenant and we say, I will enter it by surrendering my control, and I will grasp a hold of what you're giving me, and I will follow you wherever you lead, Jesus changes our name. In fact, if you skip all the way to the end of the Bible, Revelation, in Revelation, it talks about how we're given a white stone. On that white stone is written a name that only God knows. He gives us a new identity. And when He gives us a new name, It gives us a new purpose. When we go from being a rebellious child to being a faithful son, a faithful daughter, when we go from being a runaway to being a return to home child, we go from being someone who's doing things our own way to now we are doing things God's way. We get this new name, and with the new name comes a new purpose. And you go from being just a person taking care of yourself, winging life, doing whatever you want, whatever feels good. Now you have a responsibility to live as a son or as a daughter of the King, showing other people what it's like to live that way too. You have a purpose, and your purpose now is to glorify God by being a follower of Him who makes more followers. Your new purpose is to come to Jesus in every moment and every day, to thrive in a family, and to go on the mission of expanding that family, increasing that kingdom. That's your new purpose. When you enter covenant with the King, He gives you a new name, and He gives you a new purpose, and He calibrates that invitation and that challenge perfectly. And so I hope as you go about your life today, I hope that you will find that purpose in perfect proportion to that new identity, and that you will thrive in a family of other believers, and you will be a part of a multitude of many nations of people that are following the King of the creation, and that you will point everyone back to the one who rescued you and offered you covenant, so that the kingdom, the family, will continue to grow. You have a name and you have a purpose, and so today go thrive in that purpose. So I'll see you again. You are sent.